So guys, here we are, saving possibly one of the worst teams in Premiership history. No, we're not talking about Manchester United. We did that last week. I'm joking. Look, I'm a Man United supporter. We can joke around. But I did put up a poll in the community page this week asking who do we want to rebuild. Southampton won by a massive amount. Obviously, they're absolutely terrible right now in real life. They have accumulated the least amount of points of any Premiership team in history. They're already relegated. So, yeah, they're not playing too great. Obviously, their team needs a massive rebuild. They have some okay players, but yeah, they've obviously lost over the last couple of seasons a bunch of their really, really good players. So they need a wee bit of love. But one of the great things is about Southampton, look, they do have a decent reputation. Reputation is 3-star. Training facilities is 4.5. Youth facilities is 4.5. They have 3.5-star youth recruitment. So all in all, really, really good. And then if you go over into their trophy cabinet, the only thing they've really won in the top flight is the English FA Cup. They won it in 1976, so never really won the Carabao Cup. Obviously, Champions League, I don't know if I've ever been in the Champions League or Europa League or not. Like, my history's not too great on Southampton. And then obviously, if you go over into their trophy cabinet, look, they haven't really won anything a lot in the top flight of football. I'm not too sure when the last time Southampton was even in European football. They won an English FA Cup in 1976, so they've never won the Carabao Cup. Like I said, don't know when the last time they were in Europe, and obviously have never won the Premiership. And I do want to change that. Obviously, winning the Premiership in 5 years with Southampton, it's going to be kind of difficult, because their team's kind of okay. We're gonna need to dip in the transfer market and be really, really sensible with who we bring in. The plus side, we do start with 20 million, which is absolutely fantastic. And they do have some fantastic players like Aaron Ramsdale, who is a very, very good keeper in FM. We have a good English fullback in Kyle Walker-Peters, who can play on both sides. German centre-back Bella Kotchap has a ton of potential, still only 22. They also have a fantastic fullback in Sugawara. Some good young players like Mateus Fernandez, probably one I'm more likely going to lock in for the season and try and get a wee bit better. Absolute unit of a striker up top in Paul Uche. How do you pronounce his name? Aniuchu. Look, 6'7", 20 jump and reach. That alone in FM from corners, this man will probably score a shit ton. I really, really wish he was like 24, 25 and we could keep him around for a while, because having somebody at 6'7", a 20 jump and reach, going to be pretty disgusting. And this is the formation I would like to play with this team. I think this team, look, our strength probably lays in what we've got in defense. So I want to play 4 at the back. I want to play 5, but we just don't have the centre backs to play 5 at the back. So I'm going to play 2 in front, because obviously, look, our players aren't fantastic, so I would like a wee bit defensive stability. And then I'm going to play 3 in behind Biganucci. Like I said, Fernandez, I am going to lock in for the season. I think with regards to this team, look, we have a couple of other decent DMs. Look, we have Will Smallbone, we have Adam Milana, who can play in DM. So we're okay in there. Look, it's not a massive priority. Downs is okay. I'm very, very happy to play him in there. He's 25, he's English, he's pretty decent all around. He can pass the ball, he can tackle. But I feel like for us, if we want to stay up, we need to score more goals. Fernandez is very, very young. Anucho will be a massive threat, but we need somebody in the inside forwards. And if you look through their team, look, there's nobody that really screams out at you, yes, I'm going to score you an absolute shit ton of goals. So that's probably where we're going to have to strengthen, is going to be the 2 inside forwards. So I was only able to get one person out the door, but we still have a decent amount of time until the transfer window closes. But I was able to get out Joe Aribo. The Saudi League came knocking, starts off at 10 million, working its way up to 15. This is a really, really good deal, because yeah, he was only valued at like 68 million. So getting 15 million for him was pretty nice. And then, like I said, we were going to need inside forward. So I went and got Rudy Bargi. Look, we all know how good Rudy Bargi is. One, play with both feet, play in a lot of positions. He can play all along our front line and up top as well. He's only 18. He has a ton of potential, can play with both feet. He's very, very good mentality, super consistent. We paid a total of 17.5 million for him, which I think is an absolute steal, because the kid is phenomenal. And then, like I said, we were going to need a defensive midfielder, so I went out and got Eric Martel. Look, our options are very, very limited when it comes to Southampton, but you know my love for big physical players. 6'2", good mentality, teamwork and work rate's fantastic, mental stats are insane. Physically, he's a bit of a monster. Not fast, but like he knows how to get stuck in. Not playing at a Premiership level yet, but he's only 22 years old. Amazing mentality, enjoys the big game, super consistent. And like I said, for a price of 11 million, I think is an absolute steal. And while I was very, very happy with our big striker up top, the big guy at 6'7" with the 20 jumper, and he is going to be, what, 31, 32 this year. So I'm going to need a long-term replacement for him. So I was looking around, people I could bring in. Once again, like I said, our options are very, very limited. So I went for Ruben van Bommel. Look, 6'4". I'm going to work as weaker foot, but he's got a fantastic mentality. He's consistent, 16 jump and reach. I'm probably going to work on his head a little bit. He's very, very big. He's got good jump and reach. So his head is something I want to work on, because you know my love for just pumping the ball into the box. And also corner, if you've got a good corner routine, your players can score a lot from corners. So I'm going to work on his head a little bit, but he brought him in the door. It did cost us a wee bit, total in 21 million. It's about 7.5 million up front and then the rest in installments. But look, that's the players that I think are going to help strengthen this team a lot. Because if you go into the squad, like I said, I picked a tactic that's going to try and get the best out of these players. Because let's be honest, the squad is not great. So if you go to the assistant manager and ask him to pick our best 11, it kind of changes a little bit. One, I wouldn't have Diaz up top. Also, the thing is, a lot of these players are out on loan. Harvard Bells would not go in there. Taylor wouldn't go in there because I'm going to play Kyle Walker-Peters over there. Martel and Downs, very, very happy with that. So the Mane, not going to play in there. Lallana is, 34? Armstrong is currently out on loan, and like I said, Diaz isn't even in the squad. So this is how I would set the team up. I also brought young Tyler Dibbling up in the team. Look, he's not great, let's be honest, but the only way he's going to get any better is if I bring him into the team and give him some football. He's playing a 2-star, has anywhere from 4 to 5-star potential. He is actually very, very good in this database. He's not like world class, but you can get him up to like a good 4-star, which is fantastic. He's got that high determination. He also is super consistent as well. Look, he's very young. He's English. He's 18. I'm going to bring him up in the team and give him some football. So like I said, I'll play Kyle Walker-Peters at left back, obviously Ramsdale Nets, Bella Kotchap, Bernarak and Sugawara as our backline, Martel and Downs in the 2 defensive midfielder slots, Rooney Bargy out on the left because he can play with both feet, Fernandez in there behind Tyler Dibbling out on the right, and Van Bommel up top. Obviously all these positions are going to probably more than likely rotate, and I am probably going to have to lock in our forward line because the system manager is more likely going to take him out. But all in all, this is the team that I have set up for season 1. I honestly believe this is a very, very good team. Our goal, because if we go over to the club info, media prediction to finish 19th in the Premiership, which is pretty much telling us they think we're going to get relegated. If I'm being super, super realistic, I would say anywhere from 10 to 14. I think 10 to 14 will be a very, very good finish for us. Like I said, we've a lot of really, really young players. Avoiding relegation, I think that's the realistic, like the good starting goal is obviously staying in the Premiership, but I would like to start pushing up a table. I think if we finished 12th, 10 to 12, I'm going to go 10 to 12, I think will be a very, very good finish for us. So boys, that is everybody in the door and everybody out the door. As you know, I'll bring you back in January if there's anybody we want to go in for approach signs, because that is one thing we're going to have to do. We don't have a lot of money, so we're going to have to get players in on free signings. So we're going to have to duck into that market a little bit. Also on top of that, I'll bring you back in April if our youth intake is good. If you know me, unfortunately, I don't have good luck with youth intakes. I've had loads of people in the comments saying, I don't know what's going on with your youth intakes, bro. I get loads of good players. I just don't have any luck with that. But like I said, boys, that is the team. Let's jump over and play season 1. So we've made it to April. I did sign 2 players on January for approach signs. I'll show you them in a wee minute. But we did get a youth intake. Got a few players that could look pretty interesting. This young guy, Trevor McCourt. Of course, all the young players, I've signed them all on contracts just in case. But this one looks pretty solid. 16 years old. He's Irish. He's got a good mentality. He's super, super consistent. A bravery of 16, which is fantastic. Passing of 16. Technique of 15. He's one, could be a wee bit of a standout, and he's only 16 years old. Then there's another one. Obviously, this guy is like rated sort of like 3.5 to 4.5 stars. But once again, he's only 15 years old. He's an American, 5'7". It says he plays out on the wide, but this would be more of like a defensive midfielder type one. He's got the good aggression, which is fantastic. He's got good marking, good tackling. So obviously, like I said, he'll probably play well as a good DM. He's got a good mentality, a little inconsistent, but I mean, he's still only 15. Then we got another decent one. This one, like I said, once again, is 4 to 5 stars, but like I said, the star ratings can be a little skew-whiffed. We'll just have to see how good he gets down the line. But he's 16 years old, he's English, which is fantastic. He's going to help with registration. Got a good mentality, but once again, a little inconsistent. I've noticed with this FM or either this database, there's a lot of young players that are very, very inconsistent, because he's one I would like to keep in the team. Like I said, he's English, he's 16, but he's also 6'3", can play fantastic at both feet, and like that's pretty much the end of like the decent players. Obviously, like I said, a pretty good youth intake. We've got 3 ones that could be pretty solid, and we'll just see how they develop over the next couple of years. But one of the players that I brought in on an approach to sign is Amir Orkayaya. He's a centre back. He's only 20 years old. Centre back is one of the positions we are very, very weak. We've got a lot of players who are like 31, 32, 33. So this guy brought him in. Like I said, he's completely on a free. He's also a left footer, 6'1", pretty good all round. Nothing screams absolutely unreal, but he has the potential to be pretty solid. Then the other one I brought in is Eduardo Quaresma. This is one I would probably play in defensive midfield. I don't think he's one either fast enough to play at centre back, because usually you want one or the other. They're really, really good in the air or they're really fast, and he's none of the two. He's kind of the way Eric Garcia is at Barcelona. He's pretty good down the middle and pretty solid. Good teamwork, good work rate, good tackling. He can pass the ball. He's pretty decent all round, 6 foot. He can play with both feet. Still very, very young at 23. And like I said, once again, we got him on a free. So everybody, we are at the end of our first season. Look, my goal, like I said, going into this, obviously the realistic goal is to stay in the Premiership. But I honestly feel like we've got a good enough team we can push up the Premiership. My goal was to try and be that sort of like 10 to 14. I think that's realistic for our squad where we should finish. So let's jump over and see where we finished in the league. So we started off the league against Liverpool. They started off the scoring through Dominic Szoboszlai. They unfortunately made it 2-0 in the 23rd minute. I don't know what Ramsdale was at. Young Van Bommel got one back for us, but we got defeated. Then in the 50th minute, Van Bommel got one back, but unfortunately, they beat us 2-1 on the night. But then we had a fantastic win over Brighton, who I was surprised actually didn't do that great this season. Young Dibbling started off the scoring. Van Bommel then made it 2-0. Sugawara from the penalty spot made it 3. And then to round things off right at the end of the match, Taylor scored to make it 4-0 to us. Next up was a hard match against Man City. They started off the scoring through Ruben Diaz. We hit back straight away through Van Bommel. Then 3 minutes later, Van Bommel scored to make us win 2-1 against City on the night. So boys, we ended up finishing 6th. Look, I'm always as realistic with these things as I try to be. I didn't think we were going to finish 6th. My prediction was 10 to 14, 8th if we have a really, really good season. But 6th is absolutely insane, which means we're in the Europa Conference League, isn't it? Look, I'll take any European football. If we finish anywhere in this top 7, I would have been blown out of the water. Look, we played pretty fucking well. 38 games played. We had 20 wins. 20 at Southampton. 6 draws. Yeah, we had 12 defeats. A lot of those are against big clubs. Man United, Aston Villa, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, City, Tottenham. I mean, they're games I expect us to kind of lose. We had a 19 goal difference and finished on 66 points. Yes, we're still nearly, 20 points off champions Arsenal, strangely. City down in 4th. Like I said, Brighton are down in 8th. Man United finished down in 16th. It's like real life. Newcastle in 14th. We had nobody in the top goal scorers. Look, the Premiership takes a wee while to start getting somebody up in there, and a lot of our players are very, very young. Nobody in there for average ratings. Sugawara is in there for assists. He get 15 for the season, and then Sugawara and Martel are in there for yellow cards. They get 1st and 2nd. Part of the boys. So if you go up the team overall stats, most points per game, look, we're there in 5th. Most goals, we're 2nd. Villa scored 90. We're at 75. I'm very, very happy with that. Most shots for was actually us by 571. Fewer shots against, we're not in there. Look, it's to be expected. We have a wee bit of a young defense. And then most clean sheets, we're not in there. Fewest conceded, we're not in there. But all in all, boys, look, we finished 6th, massively above where I thought we were going to. So let's see how we did in the cups. So things did not go well in the Carabao Cup. We get put out in the 2nd round by West Ham on penalties. But we're not going to talk about that one. So in the FA Cup, then we started off in the 3rd round against Liverpool. 2 big Premiership teams right at the start of both cups. So this ended up 1 each on the night, which then took us to a replay. Unfortunately, they did beat us 3-1, which means we were out of the cup. Look, this is ridiculous. We got West Ham in 1 cup, a Premiership team in the 2nd round, and then in the 3rd round of the FA Cup, we get Liverpool. But look, boys, all in all, a very, very good season. Aaron Ramsdale played 38 games. He got a wee bit of a knock at the start of the season, so he didn't start every single game. Conceded 55. I'm pretty happy with that, considering how, I wouldn't say ropey our defense is, but like they're very inexperienced, and like our defense isn't fantastic. So 55 goals, pretty happy with that. We unfortunately in January ended up losing Kyle Walker-Peters because he has a buyout clause in his contract of 35.5 million. So he ended up going to Arsenal, won himself the Premiership. But it gives a wee bit of money. But unfortunately, I couldn't find as a good left back in January that I was happy with. The options were not great. So I ended up just playing young Zoan Lloris for the end of the season. He only played 7 games. He played a few, got injured, and then he just played as many as he could. But he got himself 1 assist. Sugawara over on the other side and right back played very, very well. 34 games played, 4 goals, 15 assists. Belakacha played 38 games, scored 10 goals. And of course, his partner in there, Juan Benarak, played 38 games, got himself 1 assist. Young Eric Martel actually didn't surprisingly start every game, only started 18, 15 off the bench, but he got himself 6 assists. Not bad for a DM. So we ended up with a few injuries, and by the time January rolled around, I actually had to bring Ronnie Edwards back from his loan spell to play him in defensive midfield. He started 22 games, 2 goals, 5 assists. He may have some potential. I don't know how good he's going to become, but we needed the squad depth because people were injured. And Downs was one of the people that actually got injured. As you can see, he only started 12 games, 25 off the bench, but got himself 4 goals. Who wants him? there's a few players on our team that are wanted by the Saudi League. So we may end up losing some people, but it's the Saudi League, so we may make a bit of cash. Young Rooney Bargy played 38 games, 8 goals and 11 assists. Not bad for his first season. And he's also progressing very, very well. Look at all the green arrows. Young Mateus Fernandez played 41 games, 5 goals, 6 assists. Yes, I would like the goals and assists to go up, but we also got to remember, this is his first season. He's still not playing at a Premiership level, and he is starting to look a lot better. Once again, a lot of green arrows going up. And young Tyler Dibling played 41 games, 16 goals, 6 assists. Probably one of our weakest attackers because he is very, very inexperienced, but he's also signed a new contract, which means he's here till 2027. I wanted to lock him down, keep him in the team. I think he has the potential to be very, very good. We just need to play him. And then, of course, the big man up top, Ruben van Bommel, played 41 games, 22 goals, 1 assist. Very, very good season. So boys, all in all, I am very, very happy where we finished. Like I said, we're in the Europa Conference League. Any European football was like maybe my goal for next season. I didn't think we would have got into it in the first season, but here we are. The tactic is also absolutely fantastic. Like I said, everything's going to be at the end of the video. The corner routine, the tactic, the save file, and the updated database. So if anybody wants to play this, everything will be in the pinned comments by the end of this video. But I'm very, very happy we're finished. So boys, let's move on to season 2. So going into the start of season 2, obviously we need to beef up a team a little bit. We finished absolutely fantastic last year, but obviously quality and squad depth is going to be a huge thing as well. Like I said, and we also still had some money left over last year from the Kyle Walker-Peters transfer. I did sign 2 players with that money, so I'll show you the players I signed last year, the Kyle Walker-Peters money. And one of them was young Ivorian centre back Abakar Sila. I'm a huge fan of this dude in FM just because of his physicality, and I think that's one thing the Premiership has a lot of. It's a very, very physical league. So as you can see, 6'2", can play reasonably well, both feet, good mentality, enjoys the big games, but on top of it, his physical stats are absolutely fantastic. Nothing is under a 14 for a 22-year-old. He's got 15 strength, 6'2", he's got 19 leadership. He currently is the club captain at the minute, but good aggression, good bravery as well. Teamwork and work rate are also fantastic. We did have to pay a wee bit of cash, totaling 24 million, but we made more than enough in this transfer window. So after signing him, I seen somebody that was on my shortlist that was up for transfer. He wasn't happy at his club. I was very surprised. And that person was Nico Gonzalez. He was very, very upset at Man City because he wasn't playing. So yeah, I went out and got him to play in the centre of the park with Eric Martel. So yeah, our midfield's looking a little beefy right now. Them two are both absolutely perfect. They're over 6'2". They can play with both feet. They're both very physical. Once again, like I said, the Premiership is a very physical league. We got him for a total of 18 million. As you can see, he only played 7 games all last year for Man City, which is absolutely wild. I know in real life he's the long-term replacement for Ruben Diaz because he's still only like 22 in real life, but Nico is now on our team. So with the transfers going out this season, there was a lot of people went out the door. 162 million worth, and the first person out the door, Sugawara. Look, I didn't want to lose him. You know what it's like trying to get right backs. It can be very, very difficult. So the Saudi League came in and offered us 60 million. It was 42 to begin with. I said no. Once again, he got upset. So we wrangled it. Look, 60 million for him. It was a good deal and we couldn't turn it down. And it was 60 million upfront in cash. Then unfortunately, the next person that we lost was Ruben van Bommel, of course, because when he signed for us, he had a release clause. He also has a relegation release clause. It's the only way players will really sign for low-level Premiership teams. Yeah, we bought him for 21. His release clause was 32, which is unfortunate. I was planning on getting it out this summer or in January, but then I couldn't offer him a contract because there was people interested in him. So unfortunately, he went out the door to Napoli. Look, losing him kind of sucks because I wanted him to be our long-term striker, but I would have liked a wee bit more money. If we'd have got like 40, 45 million, I'd probably been a little bit happier. 32 million still fantastic on top of the 60 million that we got for Sugawara. That means we had like 93 million. Then I did sell Jan Bednarek. Look, he was good last year for us, but I kind of wanted to increase the quality of our players, of our centre backs. Obviously, with us bringing Sillin's a way better player than him. And yeah, we got him for a total of 24.5 million. So we pretty much just swapped Jan for Silla. I think that's a pretty good swap deal. Then the next person out the door was Ben Brenton Diaz. Look, just one that I'm not really overly going to play. West Ham come in and offered us 13.7 million for him. I just said yes, because it's a player we're not really going to play. Then the next one out the door was Adam Armstrong. He went to Burnley for a total of 12.5 million. Another one, look, good squad player, but he wants first team football, and I can't guarantee him that. So out the door he goes. Then one I actually didn't want to lose was Jean Loris. He wanted to go back to Spain. Girona come in and offered for him. I said no. He got upset, so we ended up wrangling a little deal. Look, total of 12 million. They bought him for 6, so basically we doubled their money. But he was the one I was planning on playing at left back this year because he has a wee bit of potential. He's already at the club and I didn't have to spend any money. So to replace him, I brought in young Harry Maas from Man United. This is on a season loan. We do have an option to buy of 11.5 million. He does have some good potential. Harry Maas, sometimes he's good in a save, sometimes he's not. I think we've got him as a decent one because he has high determination. He's a little inconsistent, but he's only 18 years old. He's also English. His physical stats are fantastic. He's 6 foot, can play reasonably well with both feet, and he's got a good mentality. So if he plays well this year, I would pull the trigger on the 11.5 million. Then obviously with Sugawara going out the door, we needed a right back, so I loaned in Connor Bradley. So both of our full backs are in on loan. Obviously Connor Bradley, absolutely fantastic. 39 million clause in the loan deal. Don't know if we'll pay that. It's a lot of cash. Also, we don't have that type of money, and trying to get him out of Liverpool might be another thing. Also, but he's in on loan for the season. So with us losing Van Bommel, obviously, we need a striker. So I went out and got Andrea Pinamonte. This one's pretty good. Look, he's got a fantastic mentality, super consistent, fantastic at both feet, 6'2", physical stats are absolutely insane. Good finishing, good heading, good long shots. Passing's a little low, but like we're not going to worry about it too much. Good penalty taking, good technique, physical and mental stats, like I said, are very, very good. And we got him actually for a pretty good price, 13 million. So we got rid of Van Bommel for what, like 34 million, and brought him in for 13. But I also wanted to beef up our backline, so I brought in Dean Hutchinson. Obviously, Bournemouth got relegated, so I was able to go in and pinch one of their really, really good centre-backs. So it means we now have Silla as our left-sided centre-back and Dean Hutchinson as our right-side centre-back. 163, 165. Then they're both very, very physical players. We got him actually pretty cheap. A total of 15 million. I think it's an absolute steal for a player of his caliber. But like I said, Bournemouth went down. Look, he's not playing at a very, very high level yet, but the massive potential is there, so I do want to get him in the door. Then the other one I was brought in is Marcus Edwards. Look, I was looking around for players that are very, very exciting. They're explosive. Look, his mental stats aren't fantastic, but physically, absolutely fantastic. Really, really good left foot. He's got a good mentality. He enjoys the big games. He's explosive. He can dribble. This is one Tyler Dribbling can't play every single game on the right-hand side. I need a wee bit of quality and depth. We're also playing in the Europa League, Conference League this year, so we're playing in Europe. Playing in 2 cups, we're playing the league, we need squad depth. So I brought him in. Look, it only cost us a total of 16.5 million. We still have a total of 141 million left. But honestly, there's nowhere. I want to go out and just blow a ton of money. So the team kind of looks like this. This is what the assistant manager would pick. Obviously, I would change a few things here. Ramsdale goes in, Manning, Sila, Bellacoccia, Bradley, Nico, Martel, Rooney Bargy, Fernandez, Edwards, and Pinamonte. Look, a fantastic team. The only things I would do was bring in Harry Maas and then bring in, God, where is he? God, he has him the whole way down here, and Dean Hutchinson. That's the only changes I would make. So that means I am going to have to lock in Harry Maas and Dean Hutchinson in for the season just to make sure they get some football. But all in all, boys, I think we've built an absolutely fantastic team. Obviously, if there's anywhere I feel like I kind of need to maybe bring in a wee bit more quality, we still have that 140 million. But I'm looking at this team and I'm like, right, okay, where do we strengthen? Obviously, we're going to need 2 fullbacks. I can't guarantee Bradley will want to stay, and obviously it's 39 million. I know we have a ton of cash, but is he worth 39 million? We'll have to see how well he progresses. Harry Maas, still very young, needs a lot of time. But if we can get him in for 11.5 million, I think I might just do it. But this is going to be the team for season 2. I think we've done absolutely fantastic. Obviously, I'll bring you back in January if there's anybody good on the approach of signs. And then I'll bring you back for April for the youth intake. But boys, let's jump into season 2. So boys, we're at the end of season 2. I think we've had a very, very good season. But let's see how we did in the league, because it's the most important thing for us right now, because it's where we get into European football. So things didn't start off great in the league. We started off against Manchester United. They absolutely obliterated us. Fernandez got the first goal. Xerxes then made it 2-0. Casemiro then made it 3. We did hit back in the 70th minute, but unfortunately it was too little too late. Our first match, we went 3-1 down. But not everything was all doom and gloom. We actually had a fantastic win over Newcastle. We started off the scoring through young Tyler Dribbling. Rudy Badji then made it 2. Downs then made it 3, but they did get one back in the 90th minute, but it was too little too late. We smashed them 3-1. Yeah, that we also had a fantastic 1-0 win over Chelsea. Adozie got the only goal. where we actually ended up finishing 7th. One place down from where we finished last year, but last year was a fantastic season. Look, I'm very, very happy. As you can see, we have qualified for Champions League football. We'll get into that in a little minute. But we played 38 games, 19 wins, 8 draws, 11 defeats. We had a really, really bad start to the season. We really did. But just between injuries and just not playing well, just lost some games we shouldn't have lost. Like the Crystal Palace, the Wolves, West Ham and Crystal Palace games, I think we should be having a wee bit more grit about us. But we did a 15 goal difference and 65 points, which is fantastic. But as you can see, we're still a long way off being anywhere near the title. We're like nearly 30 points away from Man City. We don't have anybody in the goals or in the average ratings, but we do have Rooney Badgie in there for assists. We have Martel and Sila in there for yellow cards. If you do go up to the team stats, look, like, this is going to be something. Look, I know coming into this, look, it's going to take a good few seasons for us to get a team together that's going to be good enough to fight for the title. Most points per game, Man City, we are in 7th, which I'm very, very happy with. Most goals, once again in 7th, 60. I would like to see this go up a little bit. I have rectified this. I did bring somebody in as a main striker. I'll show you that in a wee minute. Shots for, we're actually joint 2nd. Fewest shots against, we're not in there, which leads me to believe we probably leaked a few goals. Most clean sheets, we are in 5th with 15. I'm very, very happy with that. And then fewest conceded, we finished in joint 7th. Look, once again, very, very happy. Only conceded 45 goals. I would like this to get down into like the sort of mid 30s in and around there. The Premiership is a hard league. You're gonna concede goals. But let's move on to the cups. So the Carabao Cup did not go too well. We ended up going out to Spurs on penalties in the 3rd round. We keep getting big teams in the 3rd round. I don't know what it is. Like, can we just get someone small? Would be fantastic. But that's unfortunately us out of the Carabao Cup. So then that took us over into the FA Cup, where, boys, we made it past the 3rd round. We ended up beating Bournemouth 1-0. In the 4th round, we played Sheffield Wednesday. We beat them 3-0. We then played Peterborough in the 5th round, beating them 3-0. We then drew Cardiff in the quarterfinals and beat them 11-1. Fair play to Cardiff to making it the whole way to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. They did well, but just, we were fantastic. Which then took us on to the semi-finals, where we played Arsenal. We beat them 2-1, which took us to the FA Cup final, where we played Liverpool, which we knew was going to be a very, very hard game, but we actually ended up winning 1-0 through Big Piemonte, the only goal of the game, which, boys, means we lift the FA Cup. Look, this is absolutely fantastic. I'm very, very happy with this. Look, I'm very happy. 7th in the league. Unfortunately, the Carabao Cup wasn't great, but look, you can't expect to do good in every tournament. And then, so that means 7th in the league, an FA Cup win, which means now we move over to the Europa League, where we started things off in the league phase. We ended up beating Ghent 3-2 in the first match. We even had a man sent off. We then beat Victoria Plzen 2-0. We then also had a nice 2-0 win away to Bratislava. Then we had a nice 2-1 win over Trabzonspor. Probably don't know how to pronounce that. They made a 2-0 win over FC20. Then a 1-each draw with that team I'm not even going to try and pronounce. This is a game I feel like we should be winning. Then in our final league phase match, we actually beat Rangers 1-0 at Ibrox, which then took us to the round of 16, where we faced off against Real Sociedad. The first match was very difficult. We beat them 3-2 away. Second leg at home, we were very, very dominant. We ended up beating them 5-2 to go through 8-4 in aggregate, which then took us to the quarterfinals, where we faced off against a very, very good Bayer Leverkusen team. We ended up beating them 3-2 away. We then also beat them 3-2 at home to go through 6-4, which means we're into the semi-finals, where we faced off against Atalanta. We had a good game against them, but they actually started off the scoring. We then hit back just before halftime through Edwards. Young Dibley then made it 2-1. He then added a second to the game to make it 3-1. But we weren't done there. Yilmaz scored to make it 4-1 on the night, which then took us to the second leg, where we started off the scoring through Big Piemonte. We also had Sila sent off in the 7th minute. They hit back in the 23rd minute to make it 1-each on the night. Big Piemonte then made it 2-1. They hit back 15 minutes later, but it was too late. We were already into the final 6-3. Where we faced off against a very good Tottenham team, we actually ended up getting the win. This went the whole way to extra time with a Cameron Archer goal. So, boys, that means we got ourselves a little European trophy. Obviously, this is absolutely fantastic. On top of, I'm very, very happy with the league. Like I said, finishing 7th was amazing. Winning the FA Cup would have took us into European football, but because we won the Europa League, that means next year we are into the Champions League. So then jumping over all the players and see how they did. Ramsdale actually started 60 games, so he was available for pretty much every match. He did concede 65 goals, but he had 25 clean sheets. So in January, I did end up banning Vidland Yilmaz. Look, Harry Maas does not want to come and play for us, so like we have no left back pretty much coming into this year, and then I still had 140 million left in the transfer kitty, so I did end up going ban Yilmaz. Look, he cost us a total of 19.7 million. He had a buy clause. He's a good player. Look, is he going to help us win a Champions League? I don't know. Look, we may have to strengthen the team down the line, but this is the type of players that we need right now. And obviously, we're going to need a left back. I don't want to have to keep just loaning players in. And he's very, very good. He had 34 games, 5 goals, 5 assists. And like I said, he's good crossing, good dribble, and good first touch. Exactly what we need. And he's got a banger of a left foot. Of course, Connor Bradley in on loan from Liverpool for the season. He started 27 games, 12 off the bench. He had a couple of wee niggles, and then he had 3 goals and 13 assists. Look, I would love to have him in the team, but 39 million I feel is maybe a little too much for a right back, and like he doesn't have any more room to improve that much. And I don't even know if I'd be interested in leaving Liverpool to come to us. I don't know. This is one I may think about. We do have a 92 million transfer budget, so I may reevaluate this. Of course, Big Sela, a fantastic signing for us. 51 games started, 1 goal, 2 assists. Then Big Dean Hutchinson, 60 games he started. 60 games, not bad for 21. 7 goals, 2 assists. He's one I would like to see down the line because he's 6'5", good jump and reach, good heading. I would like to see him start scoring a few more goals for us. But obviously, it's his first season. Then of course, Big Nico, this is one I honestly, joking aside, I can't believe we actually were able to get this in the door. So 49 games started, 6 goals, 5 assists. He's one I plan to have around for as long as possible. And of course, his partner in defensive midfield, Martel, another one that was always fit. 50 games, 6 goals, 7 assists. But the only problem is, he's wanted by Real Madrid. Then of course we did bring in Marcus Edwards. Look, I just wanted someone to basically give Dibbling a wee bit of competition for that position. He started 43 games, 5 off the bench, 7 goals and 10 assists, so 17 goal involvements. Would like to see a wee bit more from him, but look, we're playing in the Premiership. It's a very hard league. I don't expect everybody to have banger seasons. Rooney Bargy, 43 games, 8 goals, 15 assists. Look, he's still very, very young, and he's starting to progress very, very well. And like, you have to remember, he's only started playing at a Premiership level too, so he's going to get a lot better. Then of course, young Mateus Fernandez played 34 games, 8 goals, 10 assists. He's one I'm hoping can get a lot better. Look, it still says it still says he could improve significantly. So I'm hoping, look, he could at least get another star. I don't know what to do in this position. I don't know why not to bring in someone a wee bit more experienced and then have him as the backup and just kind of give him a wee bit of competition. I don't know if he's good enough to be our main creator. And then the big man up top, Andrea Piamonte, he's 48 appearances, only 1 off the bench, 26 goals and 2 assists. But I did say I wanted to bring in another striker. Obviously, we need competition, but I need more quality and depth in there. So I have brought in Jorgen Strand Larsen. As you can see, the transfer is already agreed for 30 million. He was upset he spaghettied his club. He was on my transfer list because you know how I do. Look, he's 6'4", big physical dude, perfect for the Premiership, and you know my love for big physical players, especially up top. So he's one. It means we have 2 good strikers now instead of 1 good striker. I don't even know if Piemonte is a fantastic striker for the Premiership. I would say he's okay. And then of course people like young Tyler Dibbling still started 21 games, 7 off the bench, 8 goals, 5 assists. Obviously I would like to get him out on loan and guarantee, look, I want him to have like 35-40 games every season for a couple of seasons. I feel like I either have to lock him in or I'm going to have to loan him out. Then Big Bella Kotchap, strangely enough, started 0 games, 34 off the bench. The Saudi League came in and offered 25 million. I said no. He got upset, so we may end up losing him to Saudi League. I really don't want to. I would like to keep him around for squad depth, but I think he wants guaranteed first team football, and I can't guarantee that here. So then with regards to the team, this is obviously what the team had looked like for the whole season. Honestly, I'm pretty happy. Connor Bradley, obviously not going to be here next year. And then Fernandez, I'm not too sure. And Piemonte. We'll just keep Piemonte in there. We'll pretend this is Strand Larsen. I feel like Strand Larsen is going to be our main striker. So I feel like we need a really, really good right back. I feel like we need a more experienced attacking midfielder in there. I feel like we need someone that's been around for a while and has a wee bit of experience. Look, Mateus is fantastic. He's another one. I probably want to get out on loan and loan him out for a season and get him a wee bit more football. I don't know if he's going to be good enough to be our main attacker, but he did pretty decent for a young guy. Like, he's still only 20 years old, so he's got a long way to go. The rest of the team I'm very, very happy with. But right back and attacking midfielder, I feel like it's 2 positions we kind of need to strengthen. But boys, we had a fantastic season. Look, came 7th in the league. We won the FA Cup, won the Europa League, and got ourselves back in the Champions League football. I'd say it's a pretty good season. But boys, let's move over into season 3. So boys, moving into season 3, look, if we're being realistic, we need to increase the quality of our squad. We really, really do. But like, that comes with time. You can't just start a team and then be like, surprise, we're amazing. Look, going into season 3, Jesus, it's season 3 already. It's kind of blew by. I think we have done very, very well with transfers. We got a few people on the cheap. Some people on my short list, they were listed, were unhappy at the club, and we swooped in there and stole them pretty well. But on top of that, we did also lose a decent amount of players. Most of them I was kind of reasonably happy to lose, and a few of them we kind of knew was going to happen. But the big one was Charisma. Went to PSG. Yeah, we got some decent cash for him. Starts at 39.5 million, working its way up to 54 million for a dude that we got on the free. Don't get me wrong, he's a very, very good player. 24 years old, exciting. He's very, very good all round. So, like, I can understand. But 54 million for a player we got for nothing? That's some good business, boys. But on top of that, we also did lose Eric Martel. Look, when the Saudi League comes knocking, generally most of the players don't ever say no. The man's on £500,000 a week now. So, we paid 11 million for him. The Saudi League came in, give us 35 million up front, working its way up to 55 million. So look, we paid 11, we're getting 55 for him. So we made what, like 44 million out of this deal? Once again, I think some very good business. Then of course, another one that was interested and wanted to go to the Saudi League. I understand why players that are like 30, 31, 32 in and around there want to go to the Saudi League. But players that are like 23, 24, I don't get it. Obviously, the money talks. The man's nearly on £500,000 a week as well. But Bella Kotchep wanted to go to the Saudi League. They came in, offered us 40 million up front, 60 million in total. So we ended up making like, it was about 190 million all in from like 3 or 4 players. And then obviously, like I said, with the money from last season, I did confirm the signing of Larson. You've seen this one already, but just letting you know. But I think one of the best deals that we got in this window was young Adam Wharton. He was unhappy at his club. He wasn't playing enough football. They transfer listed him for 17 million. 17 million. Look, this is when I just lost Martel and Charisma. I was like, God, who are we going to replace him with? And then he was on my shortlist. Obviously, he's English, so I'm trying to bring as many young English players in as I can. And yeah, 17 million. Look, he's not currently playing at a Premiership level. That's fine. Look, he's had a couple of seasons where he didn't play some football. We're going to bring him in, and Adam Wharton ends up very, very good. He's really good in real life. I would like to see him go to a big team. Then another one that I also confirmed with last season's money. This was just before the end of the season. I also got Alex Scott in the door. He costs us a little bit more money. He's going to be our new right back. Honestly, trying to find a good right back. One, I was obviously trying to look at people that are English, but it's very fucking difficult. Like, wing backs and stuff are hard to come across. We did have to pay a total of 45 million, but like I said, I had 145 million left over from last season's transfer budget with the amount of players that we sold, and then I had what, like 90 odd million, and to include all the players that we sold for like 180 million. So for cash wise, we were very, very good. I think 45 million. English, he's only 22 years old. Look, he can play right back, he can play through midfield, so like he's also very versatile. But the players coming in did not end there. Like I said, I wanted someone in attacking midfield that has a wee bit more experience. They're a little bit older, and yeah, Gabriel Vega was on a free, though he had no club yet. Nobody was interested in signing him, so I brought him in. Had to get him a decent amount of wage. I don't even think £140,000 a week in the Premierships that much. Look, his dribbling's fantastic, finishing, first touch, passing's good, technique is good, mental stats are solid. On top of that, his physical stats, he's also got 14 strength at 6 foot. He can play with both feet. Good mentality, consistent, enjoys the big games. Yeah, he's close to his full potential, but he's a fantastic player. And also, we got him for nothing. But the big one I think we got in the door with regards to the name was Cole Palmer. We only paid a total of 25 million for him. He was upset he's spaghetti at Chelsea. Don't know why. Honestly didn't look. It was just like 25 million. Yep, we'll take him. He's another one. He's English. He's a very, very good player. He's still only 24 years old. Loves the big game. Super consistent. And he's got a good mentality. And like I said, stats-wise, he's very, very good. And for 25 million, this helps out our team quite a lot. So this is currently what the team is going to look like for season 3. I think this team is very, very good. Look, obviously my goal going into this is once again, stay in European football. Obviously, breaking in the Champions League football, we were lucky last year. I wouldn't even say lucky. Look, we won the Europa League, which means it pushed us automatically in the Champions League. To get into the Champions League spots this year, like, we have to break into the top 4, and it's very, very hard to do. But that is my long-term goal. Get in the Champions League, at some point win the league. But with this team, I think we've got a good chance of getting in the Champions League. Look, Ramsdale, Yamiz, Silla, Hutchinson, Scott, Nico, Adam Wharton, Rooney Bargy, Vega, Palmer, and Larson. I think this team is absolutely disgusting. But like I said, there's a lot of new players. It's going to take a wee bit of bedding in time. But all in all, look, my goal, stay in the top 7. That's going to be our goal every season, because like you can't guarantee you're going to be in the Champions League every year with the teams that are in this league. It's very, very competitive. But that is the team for season 3. Obviously, I'll bring you back in January if there's anybody good for approach of signs, and then bring you back in April if the youth intake's good. It has not been good. I have the worst luck. I see other people's rebuilds and they get these absolute smasher players from the youth intake. Mine, I don't know if I don't have the luck of the devil. So unfortunately, we have to go out and just end up banning these players. But look, it is what it is. But boys, let's go play season 3. The boys, we're at the end of season 3. Obviously, like I said, I wasn't really interested in signing anybody in the January transfer window, and then our youth intake it wasn't great, boys, but we had a very, very good season. So let's jump over and see how we did in the league first. So we start things off with a fantastic win over Newcastle. Big Larson got the first goal. He then added a second in the game to make it 2-0. Newcastle did get one back in the 88th minute, but we were too strong the whole match, and we won on the night 2-1. We then also had a fantastic 1-0 win over Arsenal. Ramsdale got player of the match. He was absolutely fantastic. We then also had a fantastic win over Man United, even though this hurts my soul as a Man United supporter, but we started off the scoring through Alex Scott. They got one back straight away through Rasmus Højlund. In the 60th minute, we got our second goal to win 2-1 on the night, which meant with a bunch of really, really good performances, we finished fucking third. Look, if you would have told me at the start of the season we were going to finish third, I'd have laughed at you. I did tweak the tactic just a little bit. I'll explain that after. But look, we played amazing this season. The main thing was we just didn't lose a ton of games. We lost so many games last year, and we dropped a bunch of points against teams that honestly I think we should have won. But we played obviously 38 games, 22 wins, 8 draws, 8 defeats. But obviously like these that come down a wee bit. But we are playing in the Premiership. Look, it's going to be hard games. You're going to have a few draws and losses here and there. But this is fantastic. Big Strand Larson ended up getting the top goal scorer. Look, when you've Erling Haaland and Isaac in behind you, it means you've had a really, really good season. We don't have anybody in the average ratings or assists. Like I said, this is a building process. It's going to take a wee bit of time before our players start getting into all the stats. Big Dean Howson is in there for yellow cards. We're not in there for clean sheets. Look, I'm just looking to improve every year. I'm not looking to massive leaps and bounds, like go from like 19th in the league to winning the league in the first season. Look, it's going to take a few seasons. I like the progression and just building their team up over time. And like I said, I think we've built an absolutely fantastic team. If you go up into the team stats, I would just like to point out Florian Wirtz also plays for Arsenal. Arsenal's team is absolutely ridiculous, because on top of having Florian Wirtz, they also have Victor Gyökeres up top as well. So on top of having a really good team, they've just added 2 of the best players in the game. And Liverpool also just went and bought Osherman. Yeah, if you go up into the team stats for this season, most points per game, look, we're up our joint third with Man City, which is phenomenal. We scored the most goals in the league. I am very, very happy with this. 79, which is an improvement from last year. Arsenal, obviously not too far behind us. Liverpool, not too far behind us. Most shots for was us by 50 shots. I will take that. A few shots against, we're not in there, but look, these things will come with time, all right? Most clean sheets, we're not in there, and then fewest conceded, we're down in 45. So we're pretty close to where we were last year. Obviously, we have a very, very young defense. It's going to take a wee bit of time for everybody to gel together. Look, our team is still improving. But boys, look, finishing third, guaranteed Champions League football, I'm going to take that. Let's see how we did in the cups. So we're going to start things off in the FA Cup. Obviously, we are the holders after winning last year. We started things off against Plymouth in the third round, beating them 3-2. A wee bit of a closer game that I would have liked. Then that moved us on to the fourth round, where we played Derby. We beat them 2-0. But that is unfortunately where the fun ended in the FA Cup. We ended up getting beat 2-1 by West Ham in the fifth round. Obviously, look, I would have liked to go a little bit further, but look, we won it last year, and we didn't go out in the third round. So, no, I mean, that's a win-win, right? But then that does move us on to the Carabao Cup, where we did go out on the third round last year. It was the third round, right? Wasn't it the third or fourth round? We went out really, really early. But we beat Reading 2-1. On the fourth round, we actually ended up getting Arsenal. They ended up scoring an OG to let us go through. They also have Giorgio Scalvini as well. Dude, Arsenal's team is ridiculous. They've bought Scalvini, Florian Wirtz, and Gyökeres. Their team's wild. So then that moved us on to the quarterfinals, where we played Crystal Palace. We slapped them 3-1. So then in the semi-finals, we drew Leeds. We beat them 4-0 in the first leg. We then beat them 4-2 in the second leg to take us through to the final of the Carabao Cup final, 8-2. Where we faced off against Spurs in the final. We started off the scoring through Young Fernandez. What a finish. They hit back in the 52nd minute. Then scored in the 73rd minute. At this point, we thought we were out of the cup. But young Rooney Badgie equalised in the 96th minute to take it the extra time, where we ended up getting the winner through Big Piedimonte to bring home the Carabao Cup. Boys, every season just has, look, a lot of twists and turns, but this is absolutely fantastic. Like, we didn't do great in the FA Cup this year. We did great in the Carabao Cup this year. Last year, we did great in the FA Cup, but it seems we can only do well in one cup at a time. But look, we did fantastic in the league. We guaranteed Champions League football without having to win another competition. And then we also just won the Carabao Cup. I'm very, very happy with that. But now that moves us on to the Champions League, where we playing for our first season in the competition. So we started things off in the Champions League phase against Aston Villa. They beat us 2-0. We then had a 1-each draw with Salzburg. This is a team I think we should be beaten. Then we went and absolutely obliterated AC Milan 4-1. Then we had a great 2-1 win over Monaco, 3-1 win over Celtic. We then beat Olympique Marseille 2-0. We then got beat by Bayern Munich 1-0. Honestly, I will take this as a result. We played very, very well. And to only get beat 1-0 by a team like Bayern Munich, I'm going to take that as a result. Then in our final league phase match, we ended up going beating Bayer Leverkusen 2-0. So in the Champions League phase, we ended up finishing fucking 10th. 10th. I would have been very, very happy if we stayed in the blue. I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little wary about how good we would have done this competition, but I think we've bought the right players. But to finish 2 spots away from automatic qualification, we're in between PSG and Liverpool. Real Madrid are behind us. So then that took us to the knockouts, where we played Anderlecht and beat them 3-1. I think we got a good draw here playing Anderlecht. We then beat them 1-0. I was about to say 2-0. We beat them 1-0 in the second leg to go through 4-1, which took us to the round of 16, where we faced off against Bayern Munich. They started off the scoring in the 18th minute. In the 80th minute, they added a second to beat us 2-0 on the night. But in the second leg, I feel like we really, really redeemed ourselves. We played fantastic. We actually started off the scoring through Adam Wharton. We then made a 2-0 with a penalty from Edwards. They hit back with a fantastic solo goal from Jamal Musiala. Palmer then made a 3-1. They hit back in the 97th minute to take it the extra time. I don't know where our defense was at this point. I honestly feel like Musiala was offside. But then late into injury time, we got a goal to take us the penalties, where unfortunately we ended up losing the penalty shootout. We missed 3, they missed 2, and unfortunately they went through. But look, I'm going to take this as a massive positive. We made it to the round of 16 the first time in the Champions League, and we took Bayern Munich the whole way to penalties. I'm not going to lie, I'm very, very upset with our team. I'm guessing we were pushing for a goal whenever Jamal Musiala scored in like the 97th minute. We shouldn't have been that far up if we had that match in the bag and then we just threw everybody up I don't understand. But like I said, I'm going to take it as a massive positive. We did very, very well. But with regard to player performances, we start off with Ramsdale, started 62 games. The Saudi League did come in an offer twice in January, and then once after that, I think it was like in and around April. I rejected all of them. He didn't say anything, so he's not upset, so I'm happy to keep him. He did concede 72 goals, though. This is something we may have to look at. Obviously, I know we have a very young defence, and we're going at teams, but 72 goals is a lot of goals to concede, and then he had 18 clean sheets. Maz had 40 games started, 1 goal, 6 assists. I would like to see a lot more of assists out of him. He's also wanted by the Saudi League, so yeah, we probably know what's going to happen in the summer. Young Alex Scott on the other side, 56 games played, 2 goals, 8 assists. Once again, I would like to see a wee bit more out of them. Sela played 41 games, no goals, no assists. Big Dean Hutchinson played 52 games, no goals, 1 assist. He has progressed very, very well. So I worked on his quickness with him. It's now up to 15 acceleration and 14 pace. So he's looking pretty good right now. Nico Gonzalez started 54 games, 4 goals, 7 assists. Adam Wharton started 57 games. Of course, I did lock him in because the assistant manager wasn't going to play him. He gets 7 goals and 8 assists. Would like to see a wee bit more, but look, it's his first season. Palmer started 61 games, 23 goals and 7 assists. So 30 goal involvements in 60 games. It seems like Fernandez has played way more games than Vega, so the assistant manager must have preferred to play him. Look, I don't mind out of any of the two of them who plays. They're both fantastic. 33 games started, 18 off the bench, 9 goals and 11 assists, so 20 goal involvements in 33 games. Badgie started 49 games, 14 goals and 13 assists, so a good season for him. And the big man up top, Strand Larsen, started 48 games, 34 goals, 5 assists and a 7.2 for the season. So obviously this is what the team looked like for the end of the season. I was actually able to get young Tyler Dibling out on loan for the season. He only started 9 games, but 17 off the bench, 3 goals, 2 assists. I would like him to get a wee bit more start in football because he's one I do want to keep at the team and I do want to see how he progresses. He's still only 21 years old. He's also English. which helps us with the registration. But he's one I would like to see get a wee bit more football on his loan next year. And then, of course, like I said, Gabriel Vega only started one game, which means Fernandez started quite a lot of games. He's upset, he's spaghetti, and wants to start more games. It's understandable. 16 off the bench, 1 goal, 1 assist. But I think with how our team has played, honestly, we conceded 72 goals, so that's something. I think we had a few injuries going into the season as well. I did end up bringing in young Archie Brown in January because I needed a wee bit more centre back cover. We had a few injuries and then people were just suspended and all that sort of stuff, and we didn't have a lot of cover at centre back, so I brought him in for a total of 10.2 million. Look, he's English, he's still very, very young. He is actually very, very good. He's 6'3", 18 jumping reach, so I think this is a good purchase to bring into the team. Like I say, because he's English, it helps with the registration, but this formation I think just works out very, very well for our team. We're still conceding, like I said, a few goals, but we'll iron that out with time. But I think this team still has a long way to go. There's a lot of young players in here that need time to develop a wee bit more. But I think an absolutely fantastic season. Finished in 3rd place to guarantee Champions League football. Gets smashed in the FA Cup, won the Carabao Cup, and then made it to the round of 16 in the Champions League. I'm absolutely ecstatic with this. And then we also have a total of 136 million in the transfer kitty. But if I'm honestly looking at the team, there's nowhere I'm like, we need to replace that person straight away. I think we might need another left back. I need someone to help either maybe start or provide as a backup. We only have one real left back, so I need someone either that's better than Yilmaz or can cover for him whenever he's not playing. But apart from that, boys, an absolutely fantastic 3rd season. Let's move over to season 4. So, boys, going into season 4, obviously, just do what we did last year and just play well in all the competitions. I've only brought one person in because one person wanted to leave, so we've only done one transfer. So the new person going out the door of the transfers being arranged, as you can see at the top of the screen, is going to be Gabriel Vega. He wants to go back to the Saudi League. I don't know why. Look, we're getting a total of 45 million for him. Look, I'm not going to complain. Look, we got him for absolutely nothing last year, and we're making a 45 million pound profit. Didn't want to lose him because he's a fantastic player to have around the team. He can play in a lot of positions, and he's very, very good. But like I said, once again, Saudi League comes calling. Everybody wants to leave. But because he went out the door, obviously we're going to need to bring someone in for squad depth. And I was looking around the people that are transfer listed, obviously trying to see if any of them are English. We brought in Nono Morakele for 9.5 million. Look, obviously he's not going to be a starter for us. He's a little injury prone. He doesn't enjoy the big games. But like I said, for 9.5 million, he's going to be around for a squad player. And if you go over into the team, this is what the assistant manager thinks is going to be our best team for the season. Obviously, the only changes I'm going to make here is going to put Adam Wharton into the Segundo Volante on attack. This is the formation we're going to go with for this season. And then with regards to the wing back, I don't know what to do because Rival Yamiz is very, very good. He's very, very good. But then the person I kind of want to train at left back was going to be Archie Brown. Here's what I was thinking, right? He's got good crossing, good dribbling, good first touch, passing solid, mental stats are good. His physicals are absolutely insane. He's 6'3", got a wicked left foot. He's also English. He's only 25. So I may lock him in for half a season and just kind of see how he gets on. So this will more likely be the team for this season. But obviously, boys, like I said, we just need to do what we did last year and just compete in all the competitions and do as well as we can. Obviously, I would love to push up the league and at some point try and win the league. But look, we're Southampton. We did fantastic, even finishing where we finished last year. But like I said, I'll bring you back in January if there's anybody available for approach of signs. And then I'll bring you back for at some point in these 5 years, maybe 6 years, we will get a good youth intake and I'll be able to bring you back in April. But we haven't got one yet. But guys, let's jump over into season 4. So boys, we're at the end of season 4. I think all very, very good season. I only did sign one player on an approach of sign. I'll show you that the wee second. The youth intake wasn't great again, boys. So the one person I was able to sign on an approach of sign is Konstantinos Karatsas. Anyway, look, he's only 20 years old. He's absolutely fantastic. He's got some really, really good stats. Look, he's a 3.5 star. If he gets a 4 star and gets a little bit better than this, this is going to be massive competition because we do have a lot of players like Dibbling and Rooney Bargy and Cole Palmer. This dude will be able to fill in a lot of positions as well. Also, he's a very, very talented footballer, and free is a fantastic price. But with regards to the Premiership, he started off with a fantastic win over Newcastle. Larson, I don't know what Costa was doing, but Larson get the second goal. Rudieke then made it 3. I'm still trying to get over that goal. But then they did get one back in the 97th minute, but it was already 3-1 to us on the night. Then we also had a fantastic win over Manchester United. We started off the scoring through big Adam Wharton. But he wasn't done there. He then added a second to make it 2-0. Then young Tyler Diblin got on the score sheet to make it 3-0 to us. Then we also had a fantastic win over Newcastle. We started off the scoring through big Pieramonte. Dean Hutchinson then made it 2-0 on the night. But boys, we ended up finishing 5th. Look, I'm very, very happy with this. Look, I said my goal is to stay in European football. I can't guarantee we're always going to be in Champions League football every year. Staying in that top 4 is very, very difficult. The teams in here are absolutely insane. I don't need to explain to you how good the Premiership is. But look, 5th, I'm very, very happy with that. The only thing that kind of puts me off a little bit, we played 38 games, 21 wins, 5 draws, 12 losses. Like Leeds, we should be beaten. Bournemouth, we should be beaten. Burnley, we should be beaten, and the rest of those are kind of up in the air because it's Aston Villa, Man United, Tottenham. Tottenham won the league, by the way. And you've got Arsenal and Newcastle, but like those other 3 games, we should definitely be winning. That's another like 9 points, which then takes us up in the Champions League football. So like we need to just sort of rectify a few of those losses. But like I said, we've got a young team, and honestly, like we're meant to be avoiding relegation with most of these seasons or fighting for mid-table, and we're up in the top 7 every year. Look, Strand Larsen fell off a little bit. He was a top goal scorer, but when Erling Haaland's in here and Victor Osimhen, look, it's going to be hard for Strand Larsen to basically beat them for goals every year. Nobody in average ratings, nobody in assists, which is strange to see. Usually after like 4 seasons, you kind of start to creep in there a little bit. We did have Alex Scott in there for yellow cards, and then we had Rooney Badgie in there for player of the matches. If you go up to the team overall stats, most points per game, we're down and joined 5th. Most goals, we outscored everybody game, which means we more than likely probably conceded a few goals because we did outscore absolutely every. Obviously, Man City are only 1 goal behind us. Most shots for, we're right up there with Arsenal. We're not that far behind them. Fewest shots against, we're not in there. Most clean sheets, we're down and joined 7th with 11th. I would like us to start coming up a little bit. And then fewest conceded, we are not in there. Obviously, had a wee bit of a bad season with regards to conceding goals. But all in all, boys, like I said, our main objective is just to stay in European football every year. And we've done that. So let's jump over, see how we did in the cups. So we start things off in the FA Cup 3rd round. We were playing Burnley, we smashed them 5-1. Then we got Portsmouth in the 4th round, we beat them 4-1. Then in the 5th round, we get fucking absolutely obliterated by Liverpool. I would love to say, look, we didn't put out a good team and we had injuries. Yeah, we had a couple of injuries, but like that's not the point. We just played terrible. 8-1. This hurts me even more because I'm a Man United supporter and getting beat 8-1, but I'm super competitive, and this is not good enough. And unfortunately, that's us out of the FA Cup, which then took us to the Carabao Cup where we played Man City in the 3rd round. We actually ended up going through in penalties. And in the 4th round, we ended up playing Tottenham. We beat them 3-2. So that's Man City and Spurs, and we've only made it to the 4th round. And that took us to the quarterfinals. We faced off against Leeds and we beat them 4-1. So that's 3 Premiership teams in the first 3 rounds, which then took us to the semi-finals where we faced off against Man United. We end up getting beat 1-0 in the first leg. But in the second leg at Old Trafford, this is where things heated up a little bit. We drew 4 each, but unfortunately they beat us 1-0 in the semi-final first leg, which means we ended up going out 5-4. But look, we made it to the semi-final of a Carabao Cup. But boys, we now move on to the important thing. How do we do in the Champions League? So we start things off in the league phase away to Benfica. We drew with them 3 each. We then beat Strasbourg 4-0. We then got beat 2-0 away to Galatasaray. We then bounced back very, very well against Bayern Munich, beating them 3-1. We then also beat Ajax 3-0 and beat Brøndby 2-1. We had a very hard fought match against Arsenal. They ended up beating us 3-2. And then another ridiculously close match in our last match of the league phase against Inter. They beat us 4-3. So look, we are starting to compete very, very well with the big teams, but we need to just tip a wee bit over the edge. We need to get some wins over these guys. But I also have to remember, we're fucking Southampton. So in the league phase, we ended up finishing 13th, which is absolutely fantastic. Look, if we're in this blue, that means we qualify, and that's all that we really want. It then took us to the knockouts, and we ended up getting Tottenham. Of course, we get a big team straight away in the knockouts. They started off the scoring, but for us. It was an OG. They hit back pretty much straight away. 3 minutes later, they got another one. Honestly, a fantastic ball. 4 minutes later, they made it 3. We hit back just after half-time through Big Larson. But in the 85th minute, they got another one to make it 4-2 on the night. Which then took us to the second leg where we started off very, very well. In the 4th minute, we got a goal through Nico. In the 13th minute, young Diblin then made it 2-0. Of course, in true Southampton fashion, we conceded 1 just after half-time. 6 minutes later, they made it 2 each. And in the 84th minute, they scored a 3rd to put us out. This is unfortunate. We ended up going out 4-7. I feel like we're conceding too many goals, so I'm going to have to look at our defense for the season coming. I feel like we're leaking too many goals, and like we do have a good defense. I think maybe having Alex Scott as a right back is maybe hindering us a little bit. He's not playing great. I'm not using them to the best of his ability, but just at the time, he was the best that we could currently get. Look, we have 140 million to spend. I think I'm probably going to spend some decent money on a right back. I feel like we need someone a little more stronger in there. But look, all in all, we're doing well in the Champions League. Unfortunately, we're not going to be in the Champions League next year. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little upset about it. I know we're Southampton and we finished 5th and we're doing amazing, but I'm super competitive and I want to win all the time. But look, we had a good season. Like, finished 5th in the league. We got to the knockouts again. Tottenham, unfortunately, just got a really, really good Premiership team. Made it to the 5th round. We get knocked out by Liverpool, and then we made it to the semi-finals and get knocked out by Man United. So we're always getting knocked out. It's strange to say this. Tottenham have become a big team in the Premiership. But if you go over into the player ratings, Ramsdale played 50 games. He conceded 86. So like I said, I think we're going to have to look at the team defensively. We're conceding too many goals. Maybe playing on attacking just doesn't suit us. I don't want to be conceding this many goals. I feel like it's hindering us and doing really, really well. But he had 13 clean sheets. Probably one of the standout performers for this season was Archie Brown. Remember, I locked him in at left back. So he played 52 games, 10 goals, 13 assists. So 23 goal involvements. Not bad for a left back. And then young Alex Scott on the other side played 37 games, no goals, and only 7 assists. Like I said, I feel like I'm wasting Alex Scott playing him at right back. Look, it's just the options were very, very limited, and we haven't been able to find a really, really good right back. But I feel like I'm gonna jump into the market this year. I feel like pushing Alex Scott back in the midfield is probably the best thing for the team and for him, because he's still only 24 and I want to get the best out of him. Then young Nico Gonzalez in the middle of the park played 48 games, 9 goals, 6 assists, not bad for a DM. Young Adam Morton played 47 games, 5 goals, 20 assists, so 25 goal involvements for him. Really, really good season. Young Rooney Bargy played 46 games, 11 goals and 14 assists, so once again a good season for him. His partner on the other side, Cole Palmer, played 46 games, 9 goals and 10 assists. I would like to start seeing this going up a little bit. I feel like if we're playing attacking football, our 2 inside forwards should be getting a few more goals. Tyler Dibbin, of course, I locked in for the season to try and get him some football. I do want him to progress and become a good player. Look, even if he doesn't become world class and he's a very, very good squad player, he was already at the team. He's English and he's still very, very young. 55 games played, 15 goals and 10 assists, so a good season for him. Then, of course, the big man up top, Strand Larsen, 38 games played, 24 goals. This I would like to start seeing going up. I feel like he should be at least in the 30s every year. So, boys, like I said, all in all, a good season. Of course, like I said, I wanted to be in Champions League football every year, but I have to sort of curb my enthusiasm. You know me, I always want to win. I want to play the best as I can. I feel like I said, Alex Scott, probably just going to move out here and we're going to end up playing him in here. Rooney Badgie, Alex Scott and Palmer in behind Strand Larsen, and then Morton and Nico in here. These 3 I'm happy with. Ramsdale super happy with. I feel like we need someone at right back, someone who's a wee bit more well-rounded. Somebody like Brown would be fantastic, but obviously we have to try and find a player like that. Like I said, we do have, is it 154 million to spend. Obviously, I haven't spent a ton of cash. You know how I always bring young players in as cheap as possible and sell players on for really, really good cash. But all in all, boys, I think a very, very good 4th season. And we also do have that young player coming in that we signed on a free as well. So, like, he's going to add a wee bit more depth to the team too. But, boys, a good season. Let's jump over into season 5. So, boys, season 5. Look, obviously, I want to start pushing up the league. I know we're doing very, very well, but I just want to move up a few spots and guarantee that like we're a top like 3 to 4 team and stay in the Champions League. Obviously, we're not in the Champions League this year, but look, it is what it is. We've been fantastic. The team, it's changed a little bit. A few people decided they didn't want to be here anymore. And one of the first people out the door was big Strand Larsen. Look, the Saudi League came knocking. The man's on £625,000 a week. So we ended up losing him, but look, we got good money. We paid 30 million for him. They give us 54 million in total, so we ended up making a profit. That's why I'm very, very happy with that. Look, didn't want to lose him, but look, it is what it is. I'm not going to try and keep players at the team that don't want to be here. And we made a good profit out of that. One of the next ones out the door was Yilmaz. He's one of the ones that, look, he wanted to start every single game, and that's understandable. He's 27, he is good, but we have the big man Brown at left back, and he's been doing very, very well. So Crystal Palace come in and offers a bit of money, 25 million up front. It's more than what we paid for him, so once again, we made a wee bit of profit. But one of the big ones out the door was young Rooney Bargy. He wanted to go to PSG. This is one I didn't want to lose. Look, he's very, very good. He can play on both sides. He's still only 22 years old. He can play with both feet. Good mentality, blah, blah, blah. Look, I think the thing that hurts me the most is we didn't get as much money for him as I wanted. We got a total of 40 million starting, working its way up to 60. Look, we only paid 17.5 million for him, ended up getting 60 million. I would have liked 70 to 80 million. I think that would have been a fair price for a really, really good player. But look, he wanted to go play for PSG. It's PSG. I understand. We're Southampton. Boys, the transfers don't end there. The next one out the door was Alex Scott. He wanted to go to Chelsea. This one we did get good money for. So They give us 65 million up front to work on its way up to 100 million. We paid 45 for him, we're getting 100, so like once again, very, very good profit. But another one, look, I didn't want to sell. He's 24, he's English, but unfortunately Chelsea has a bit of a better reputation than us, so he's out the door. And it was this young guy, they wanted a total of 16 million for him. Obviously, this is me trying to buy him last year. He now is valued at 38 million, so I don't know if I want to go in for him again. Look, aerial, fantastic shot stopping's fantastic, communication's fantastic, and like I said, he's still only 17 years old, so this is one I may pull the trigger on at some point. But the thing is, he's playing for Vigo, he's starting a 2-star, he can maybe get 3, maybe to 4, so this may go down with a wee bit of time, so I don't know. I think the young keeper we have is good. I don't know if I want to spend 38 million. He does have some very, very good stats, but I may keep an eye on him. If this was about 15, 18 million, I'd probably pull the trigger, but 38 million's a little much for a keeper that's very inexperienced, and like I said, you can never really trust the star wins. So then I ended up bringing in a new right back. Look, this is obviously going to be one for the future, but my thinking here was, once again, I'm trying to keep as many English players in the team, but it is very difficult. Bringing English players in gets very fucking expensive. So I was just looking at right backs under 21, and this guy was like the top of everything. Even when I put into like the under 25s, under 26, he was nearly there every time. So my initial thought was to buy Tino Livramento. I'm a huge fan of him. He can play on both sides. He's English. He's still very young. They wanted 100 million for him. And I was like, look, I know we have the money, but I don't want to spend 100 million. So this young guy, look, he has a little inconsistent and his composure isn't fantastic, but he's only 19, and composure I can work on with individual training. But he's explosive. His physical stats are insane. He's 6 foot. He's already got 13 strength at 19 years old. His work rate's fantastic. His determination's fantastic. Crossing, dribbling, and first touch are all 12, which means they're all going to go up with time. They'll probably like 14 or 15 by the time he hits his peak. He's only a 2-star. Has, I would say, 4-star potential in our team. If he gets twice as good as this, he's going to be absolutely phenomenal. But it's the explosive part that I want. And like I said, on top of that, he's also 6 foot. He did cost us a wee bit of money. Cost us a total of 42 million. Look, this is what it is. It's ban English players. It gets very, very expensive. This is one of the downsides of playing in the Premiership. And you know how I want to do my saves. I want to try and keep as many English players in the team as I can. But sometimes you just kind of have to realize that, like, there is a young player. He's a centre defensive midfield. He plays for Man City. He is unfucking real. But they want 134 million for him. And I was just like, no. So instead of that 134 million, I went and got Zeno de Bast. There was everybody fighting for him. So he was transfer listed. I think it was Club Brugge he was playing for. We did pay a total of 42 million for him. Yeah, he went to Club Brugge for 9.7 million. Everybody was after him. PSG, Man City, Real Madrid. We got a signature because I offered him a wee bit more money. I offered him 95,000. Nobody would really give him that much. But here's the thing with de Bast. He's going to be our defensive midfielder in beside Nico. So both of them are 6'3", can play with both feet. They're very, very good all round. They're good at going forward. They're good at going back. And they're an aerial threat, which keeps our team big and physical. And I think for 42 million, for a player as good as de Bast, I think this is very good signing. And I also went and got us a new young centre-back. I have been keeping an eye on this dude for ages. Unfortunately, he plays for Man City. And it costs us a wee bit of money again once. But this is the thing. When you're playing in the Premiership, you make that much money. And we're in the Champions League all the time. I haven't really spent that much cash. Our transfer budget is wild. Like I said, I have 300 million to spend this window. So I went and got this guy. He's only 20 years old. He's also 6'4", very strong in one foot, strong with the other foot. His physical stats are absolutely insane. I am currently working on his balance because his agility is 13. The balance is the only thing that throws off his physical stats. His physical stats should be up here. He's an absolute animal. And he's 13 and 12 for pace, so he's okay. Determination is 19, 17 decision making, anticipation's good, concentration's good, 16 heading, 16 tackling, 15 technique, 15 marking, 16 work rate, 14 positioning. Like I said, we did have to pay a wee bit of cash. He had a 49 million release clause, and Man City would not take anything less than that. But we're investing in the future, and this is a guy that could be around for 10 years. Obviously, on top of that, like I said, we got Karastasis. This is the wee guy that we signed on the approach to sign. He's just going to take Alex Scott's position as the inside forward. I think this dude could be absolutely phenomenal. Going to be interesting to see how good he's going to be for the season. Obviously, I've never used him before. His physical stats look way worse, and so does mental stats. It's only because his bravery and concentration are a little low. I'm going to work on his composure and get that up a little bit. If we can get this up to like 13 or 14, his concentration will come up a time, because he's only 20 years old. But for a free player, he's pretty fucking good. But our big signing is probably going to be this young guy, Cristiano Silva. I know you're looking. He's 90 to 108 million. This is very, very true. So we sold Strand Larsen for 54 million, and we had to pay 60 for this guy. He had a release clause they wouldn't take anything less. So technically, this guy costs us 6 million in total because he's just going to come straight in and replace Strand Larson. So Freiburg, like I said, had to pay a total of 16 million for him. You know what I do. Look, I try to just balance the books as well as possible. So sold Strand Larson, got him in, cost us 6 million to bring this young guy in. He's not playing at a Premiership level yet, but he has the potential to be absolutely unreal. 6'4". Fairly good with one foot, very strong with the other foot. He's got 14 jumping reach. I am going to work on his heading because I want, like, if I can get his heading up to like 14, we're going to have a guy at 6'4" with 14 heading and 14 jumping. Obviously, his jumping reach will probably go up with time. But he's also got 14 finishing, 15 first touch, 15 technique. His teamwork and work rate is 16 and 14. Off the ball is 15. Flair of 14, 18 determination, 15 decision making, 13 composure, and like I said, at 6'4" with a good composure or good mentality, and he's consistent. He's only playing a 2-star, so if he's another one, if he gets 2 stars better than this, we have a world-class striker. And he's still only 18 years old, but he is going to be our main striker. If you go in and look at the team, this is what it's going to look like for season 5. Ramsdale still nets, obviously tried to keep him as long as possible. Brown at left back, he did fantastic last year. I just want him to keep doing what he was doing. Sila and then Hutchinson in beside him. Gibbons is going to need a wee bit of time, but look, he's a very, very inexperienced player. And then we have Nico and DeBast in the middle of the park. These two, I expect to do a lot of cover work for us, and I would like to see our goals conceded go down a little bit. But obviously, our team is very, very physical. If you look at our squad, right, Brown is 6'3", Silla is 6'2", Hutchinson is 6'5", Gibbons is 6 foot. Both of these are 6'3". Kerry Estes is the only one that's small. 6'4", 6 foot. 6 foot. So our team is very, very big and very, very physical. And like I said, Palmer, Wharton, and Kerry Astas and Silva in there. Obviously, the assistant manager probably won't choose this team, so I may have to lock a few players in. So this is what the assistant manager would want the team as currently. He would put Wharton in defensive midfield instead of DeBas, which is absolutely wild. And then he puts Edwards in on this side, and then he takes out Wharton and puts him back in the midfield. But the rest of the team, Charles obviously goes in at right back because the wee young guy is very, very inexperienced. So this is the people I'm going to have to lock in. I'm going to have to lock in Gibbons at right back. It's wild that I have to lock DeBas in at defensive midfield when he's one of the best players in the fucking game. And then Kerry Astas, Wharton, and Silva. Obviously, Kerry Astas over time will take this position, and that means I won't have to lock him in. But this is the team going into season 5, boys. Look, I think we've built a very, very good team. And like, I still have, what, how much money do we still have? 84 million. And then, like I said, we still have a lot of money coming in from like future fees, because you know what I do with my sales. I always take less money up front and then take more money overall. So we still have about 100 million coming in with our future fees. It's basically after 12 months and then once they play 50 games. So like I said, total 112 million we still have coming in. So we've made a lot of money. And I think we've brought in a lot of really, really good, young, exciting players. I'm interested to see how good Silva does this season. But boys, that's enough messing about. Obviously, I'll bring us back in January if there's anybody good on approach to signs. Please, we're in season 5. Can I just get a good youth intake so I can bring you back in April and show you some good, young, exciting players coming through our team? But if we don't, that is going to be the team for season 5. Boys, let's go do it. So boys, we're at the end of season 5. I think, honestly, overall, I think we've had an absolutely fantastic rebuild. This season has went very, very well. But let's jump over and see how we did in the league first. We had a fantastic win over Chelsea. We started off the scoring through young Palmer. DeBas then made it 2-0. Young wonder kid Silva then made it 3. They hit back just after halftime through Nkunku. But in the 94th minute, big DeBas wrapped it up to beat them 4-1 on the night. Then we also had a fantastic win over Aston Villa, who actually have been playing really, really well. We start off the scoring through young Santos. Then the 91st minute, young Madike made it 2-0 on the night. We also had a fantastic win over Brighton right at the end of the season. We start off the scoring through young Edwards. But he wasn't done there. He then added a second goal of the game to make it 2-0 on the night. Boys, we finished 5th. I am very, very happy with this. Look, obviously, I would have liked to push up and like won the league and stuff, but like I'm trying to keep this save as realistic as possible. This is, I think, a very, very good version of what would happen to Southampton if they just got a wee bit of money and just like they just bought the right players at the right time. Look, we finished 5th. I'm really, really happy with this. Played 30 games. We won 20 games. 10 draws probably slowed us down a little bit. Leeds, I think we should be winning that. Man United, it's a hard game. Fulham, we should be winning that. Brighton, I think we should be winning that. City, United, Liverpool, Tottenham are all hard games. But there's about probably 4 or 5 games there that I think we should definitely be winning. 8 losses, mostly against reasonably big teams apart from like Leicester and Sheffield United. But apart from that, look, I'm reasonably happy about it. 30 goal difference. We finished on 70 points. But the great thing is over here, our new striker, Cristiano Silva, came second in the league for goals, 19. He was 2 ahead against Rasmus. Of course, Erling Haaland is top. It's Erling Haaland and he's ridiculousness. We've nobody in the average ratings, but we do have Gibbons and Archie Brown both in there with 12 for assists. We have Gibbons and Nico Gonzalez in there for yellow cards. They're first and third. As long as one of my boys gets first for yellow cards, I'm pretty happy. Honestly, I'm very, very happy with how this rebuild went. Look, we've had a couple of seasons. We finished third. We got a fourth. We get a fifth. We get a sixth. Look, we've done very, very well. Team stats, most points per game was Man United. We were down there in fifth. Most goals is us with 84. We're 4 ahead. Man United had a very, very good season. It's unusual to see. They actually won the league, so it just shows you strange things do occur in football. Most shots for, I can say that because I'm a Man United supporter, right? Most shots for was us by a decent amount. Fewest shots against were not in there. Most clean sheets, we're actually joint 7th with Newcastle. I will take that. And then fewest conceded, we weren't in there, which is a little unfortunate. But look, we did very, very well. And with the league being over with, let's jump over and see how we did in the cups. So we start things off in the FA Cup 4th round. We played Peterborough. We beat them 4-2. It was nice to not get a Premiership team right at the start. And in the 4th round, we also got a fantastic draw. We got Gillingham. We beat them 4-1. Unfortunately, this is where the fun police Man City came in and stopped us on the 5th round. We actually had a man sent off as well, which is kind of unfortunate. But they only beat us 1-0. Look, when you come up against big teams in the Premiership, this is kind of what's going to happen. I would say we're a reasonably big team, but we're not just as good as Man City yet. So unfortunately, we go out in the 5th round. So then that took us to the Carabao Cup 3rd round where we faced off against Fulham. We beat them 2-1. And in the 4th round, we went up against Sunderland. We beat them 6-1. This is unfortunately where our cup run ended. This was a wee bit of a crazy match. Chiesa scored for them. They beat us 1-0. But Dominic Szoboszlai actually missed a penalty. But so did we. Cole Palmer missed a penalty. And then we also had Gibbons sent off. That didn't get happen until the 94th minute. But a wee bit of a crazy game. But it's shown that we can compete against the really big teams. But unfortunately, that's us out of the Carabao Cup in the quarterfinals. So then that pushed us on to the Champions League, where this is where it gets a little weird. Because I actually had to go back and look at the footage. We actually finished 5th last year, so I don't understand how we finished in the Champions League unless we get allocated another spot or somebody won a cup or something and I just overlooked something. But we ended up in the Champions League this year, which, look, I'm not going to complain about the extra money and the revenue and the reputation. Well, I will 100% take. So we started things off in the league phase. We played Fenerbahce and beat them 3-1. Then, unfortunately, we got beat by Celtic 2-1. Had a fantastic 4-1 win over Club Brugge. We had a really good, hard-fought match against Barcelona. We drew 1 each. Then we smashed Galatasaray 3-1 at home. Drew 1 each away to Ajax. Unfortunately, got beat 2-1 by Barcelona. Our young wonder kid gets sent off in the 27th minute, which probably didn't help us. This is a game I feel like we should be winning this. Then in our final league phase match, we got beat 3-1 by Barcelona. We got another person sent off. We've had a lot of send-ins off this year. I don't know if it's maybe our team's a little too aggressive, but that finished up the league phase, where we ended up finishing 18th. Look, if I'm finishing in this blue, I'm very, very happy. I would love to get up into the green at some point, but look, as long as we're qualifying, that's absolutely fantastic. So this takes us to the knockouts, where we faced off against Roma. We ended up beating them 1-0 in the first leg. In the second leg in Rome, we drew 0-0, so this put us through 1-0. And in the knockouts, where we faced off against Monaco, we beat them 2-0. In the second leg, we also won 1-0. They actually scored an OG to put us through, so that means we go through 3-0, which takes us to the quarterfinals, where we faced off against current Premier League champions Man United. They beat us 1-0 at Old Trafford. In the second leg, we beat them 1-0, which took us to penalties, where we won 5-3, which takes us to the semi-finals of the Champions League, where we faced off against the Galacticos, which is Real Madrid. They start off the scoring through an overhead kick from Vinicius Jr. By this point, we had got a man sent off into Bast, and they made it 2-0. All them goals were in the first 3 minutes. It took them till the 27th minute to get another one. I don't know what Ramsdale was doing. And to rub salt into the wound, they got a 4th in the 60th minute to beat us 4-0 on the night. So with being 4-0 down and a man sent off in this match, we really put ourselves in a bad spot, which took us to the second leg, where we had our work cut out for us, where we actually ended up beating Real Madrid 1-0 on the night. But unfortunately, with the 4-0 in the first match, they ended up going to the final and we didn't. But boys, I'm not even remotely going to be upset about this. Yes, look, getting beat 4-0 in the first leg really hit as a kick in the balls. The Bas getting sent off really, really early in like the 27th minute. They were fucking nearly 3-0 up in 10 minutes, which is just hard. Look, it's Real Madrid. We're Southampton. We made it to a Champions League semi-final. I'm very, very happy. I'm taking nothing but positives away from this performance. Because if you go in and look at the competitions, look, we finished in 5th. We're still in European football this year. We went to a semi-final of the Champions League. We made it to the 5th round of the FA Cup. We get beat by Man City. And then we made it to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup where we get knocked out by Liverpool. The teams that beat us, Real Madrid, Man City, and Liverpool. It just shows we can compete. And like I said, we beat Real Madrid 1-0 in the second leg at the Bernabeu, which I'm going to take. Which then takes us to everybody, how they performed for this season. Ramsdale, 54 games, only gets seeded 69. I'm happy enough. If we're in the sort of like 50 to 60 range, I think it's where I'm happy enough. Ramsdale's still an absolutely fantastic keeper. The Saudi League has been all over him all January and then a couple of offers in March. I've said no to everything. He hasn't got upset. So here we are. Like I said, conceded 69, but 18 clean sheets. And of course, big Archie Brown, like I said, I've been playing him at left back. He played 53 games, 4 goals, 18 assists. Not bad for a big guy. And young Gibbons on the other side, of course, this is his first season. Started 42 games, 1 goal, 16 assists. So 17 goal involvements for his first season. I'm pretty happy with this. And it says he still could improve a lot. Then, of course, in the backline, Big Silla played 38 games, 12 off the bench. Most of our centre backs got a decent amount of rotation, which was very, very good to see. He only scored 1 goal, though. Visser, in his first season, 39 games started, 18 off the bench. He had 10 goals and 1 assist. He seems to have played a wee bit more than the other centre backs, which, to be honest, I'm not upset at, because he's fucking fantastic. Because like I said, the centre backs ended up getting a decent amount of rotation because Dean Hutchinson also played 37 games, 14 off the bench, 1 goal, 1 assist. So Visser seems like he's pretty good from corners. Of course, then moves us on to the two big boys in the middle of the park. First one is Nico, 43 games played, 7 off the bench, 4 goals, 6 assists, so 10 goal involvements. Would have liked this to come up a little bit, but I have to remember, they're playing as defensive midfielders. Then DeBast in beside him played 48 games, 5 goals, 6 assists. Then the young guy, how do you pronounce his name? Karastas? I don't know how to pronounce that. Look, we've got it out of the 5 times I've tried to pronounce it. We'll probably got it right in one of them. Anyway, he had a very, very good season. He was one I did want to lock in. I locked him in up until Christmas, and then the assistant manager just decided to keep picking him by himself. So 47 games started, 5 off the bench, 4 goals, 7 assists. Look, I would like us to come up a little bit, but it's his first season, and he's still only 21. Of course, his compatriot on the other side, Cole Palmer, started 51 games, 21 goals and 9 assists, so 30 goal involvements in 50 games. Pretty happy with that. Then I think this interchanges quite a little bit. Adam Wharton, like I said, he was one of the ones I wanted to play in attacking midfield, but the assistant manager, I think, picked Fernandez a wee bit more. Wharton started 17 games, look, still a decent amount of games, 1 goal, 4 assists. Then when I went and looked at Fernandez, he didn't actually start that many games. He had started 26 off the bench, 4 goals, 4 assists. Because it seemed more like the assistant manager had decided to pick Tyler Dibling, which, look, I'm not upset about. He's a youth prospect and I want to see him play more games. 46 games started, 11 off the bench, 7 goals, 4 assists. Look, probably not a fantastic season, but look, he's only 23. He's still improving. And then the one I was interested to see how well he had done was young Cristiano Silva. Played 57 games, 25 goals, 2 assists. And look, he's still only 19 years old and he still can improve a lot. So I did end up bringing up 2 defensive midfielders from the under-21s and 1 from the under-18s. Just with a few of our players were a little fatigued and Nico and DeBast can't play every single game. So I brought Anderson Perez up. Look, very, very good young player. I can't remember where we got him from. Yeah, we just bought him and I brought him up. So he only started 2 games, 5 off the bench. But look, it's got him a couple of matches. He looks like he could be pretty decent. And the other person I brought up was Wayne Borges. I think we got him through our youth intake. We did. This is one of the first youth intakes we got. So look, starting to progress a wee bit. He's an American, still only 19 years old. He started 15 games, 8 off the bench, 4 assists. And look, happy to be a backup to Nico and DeBast. Then on top of that, we also had Marcus Edwards, who started 36 games, 13 off the bench, 13 goals and 10 assists. So 23 goal involvements. I also just noticed he had changed his nationality to Cypriot. He was English, so at some point he's just changed nationality and went and played for a different team. Because then if you go in and look at the team, it actually looks really, really good. Ramsdale, Brown, Sila, Visser. Obviously this could be Dean Hutchinson in any of these 2 positions. Young Gibbons, Nico, DeBast, Kariasis. A lot of these can change. Like, you can play them anywhere. You could play Wharton here. You've also got Edwards. You've got Fernandez. So like, these 3 are very, very interchangeable. And then of course Silva up top. And you do have a plethora of really, really good young players at the club too. I've also confirmed the signing of young Angelo. This is on an approach to sign. He will be coming to the club in the summer. So another one that's absolutely fantastic. Look, he's on a free and he's still only 24 years old and he's Brazilian, which means he's automatically good at football. But then I did also confirm the signing of young Fraser Healy. This is one more for squad depth and also to help with registration because he's still also English. But he's a very, very good player. Look, we paid a total of like 14 million for him He's an English player playing for an English club, but he's also 6'6". So look, if you want to throw him on, he could be a backup to a Silva, and then you could just throw him on from corners. Or if you want to change formations and you need 2 strikers, he's another one you could train. Because look, he still has a decent amount of potential, and he still need 20. But like I said, this is more probably for squad depth. Then they did also confirm the signing of Miguel Angel Torres. I want to have a couple of keepers at the club, and we have an absolute shit ton of money. So I've confirmed the signing of him. Costs us a total of 20 million. Look, he's still only 18. Bring him in, loan him out for a couple of seasons. Ramsdale's going to be, what, 31, 32 this year. So in a couple of seasons, you're going to need a new keeper. And this kid, obviously, if you loaned him out for a few seasons, I think he's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Because we do also have this young keeper at the club as well, Yuri Nugero. But there is a few things about him. One, his jumping reach is only 7, so that's something you're obviously going to have to work on. And he's only 5'10", so he's probably going to hit like 6 foot, 6'1" in and around there. So it means you have 2 really, really good young keepers at the club, because I wanted to leave you with a decent amount of squad depth. And like I said, if you go into the under-21s, it's looking pretty good as well. You've Perez and Borges, basically the 2 young defensive midfielders that I brought it. Nigera, the young keeper. Ashton is a very, very good young centre-back. McCourt and Brigiani, I've had him in the team for absolutely ages. Doesn't really massively seem to be progressing. One, I would probably loan out for a bit and get him a little bit of football. Then you also have a lot of people in the under-18s. This guy as well, Michael, I'm not even honestly going to try and pronounce that name. But look, he's only 17. He's English. I think he's probably one of the best young players at the club. A little inconsistent, but he's still only 17. And look, it's something you can work around. He's playing at a 1.5 has 4 to 5 star potential. This is him at a 1.5. I would honestly, and joking aside, I'd just bring him up into the full team, and then I'd probably get rid of somebody and start giving him a wee bit of football. On top of that, you're probably going to have more likely about 120 to 140 million in transfer budget as well on top of that. But boys, all in all, I'm very, very happy with how this finished out. Look, obviously, I would love to win the league, and like I tried to keep this as realistic as possible. I didn't go out and spend an absolute shit ton of money on ridiculous players. We bought, I think, the right players at the right time. Look, we spent about, what, 40 million on the Bass and stuff. I feel like they're reasonable transfers for the Premiership. And look, I'm happy. Finish 3rd, finish 4th, finish 5th, and a couple of 6th. I'm very, very happy about it. Made it to the Champions League semi-final, won a couple of cups. This is exactly how I feel like a Southampton rebuild should go. And obviously, like I said, if you want to take this save file on, this will all be in the pinned comments down for you to just go and pick up, along with the corner routine, the tactic, and the updated database. So everything will just be in the pinned comments down for you to go and download. But boys, I'm very, very happy with how this went. I appreciate all the support. Also, would just like to thank everybody for all the support on the Man United video. It's at like 4,500 views or something of me uploading this video right now. So appreciate all the support on that series. Guys, I think it's going to be a good spot to stop off for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Only if you fucking want to on YouTube. Have yourselves a fantastic day. This was a lot of fun.